So a very warm welcome to you all for this very special event. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Bernie Flaherty. I'm the Deputy Chief Exec here in Westminster City Council. I'm also the Exec Director of Adult Social Care and Health here in Westminster and in KNC. So tomorrow we mark the celebration and the coronation of, I'm very smiling there, of King Charles III. A very momentous event, a historical event. You can just see from those of you travelling in, you'll have felt the buzz, and it's just so poignant out there, isn't it? The excitement and the planning. And I'm glad it's actually stopped raining, because I was going to say, and you can see really clearly all the planning and that excitement out there. And we are so lucky to have a bird's eye view, aren't we, in this wonderful building. But actually today is also a very historical and momentous occasion for us here in Westminster City Council. Here we are together as many residents, as providers, care workers, councillors, officers and many others. Please do join us. There's some seats up at the top. This is a really important occasion to us, to really value the care workers and those who support our most vulnerable residents. I did ask Faye before, but I had an email there a couple of nights ago about this event from one of our incredible local account group. And I thought it was so amazing the way she summed it up, because she was offering her congratulations to all of us in Westminster and so many people involved in this, particularly to Unison, and saying that this ethical care charter is hugely significant and is such a wonderful outcome for Westminster. But the bit that I really liked, Faye, was you talked about it indicating the sincerity and the hard work and commitment by so many people for such an important agenda. And signing this ethical care charter is absolutely that. It commits us, it has many of the principles, but also it looks to the work that we will do over many months and many years together. So I'm going to ask to come to the lectern now Councillor Adam Hugg, the leader of the council.
Thank you so much, Bernie. With every speech I give, I'm very conscious that I can never compete with lunch, so I will try and keep it as brief as I can. But it is a hugely important occasion, and I'm delighted to be here. Back when I first joined the council, sitting on the opposition benches, my first role, more than a decade ago now, was as shadow spokesperson on adult social care. I saw up close the difficult conditions that care workers were experiencing, the real problems with pay and travel time that they were experiencing, and fought to push those concerns up the council's agenda. I recognise that there has been important progress over the years since, but I know that we still have some way to go until we are truly where we want to be. So I'm delighted that Westminster is taking this important next step on our journey by adopting Unison's Ethical Care Charter that will help set the framework for further progress. And it's so important that we make that progress because the people who care for the vulnerable and elderly in our society make a critical and often underappreciated contribution to the lives of our loved ones, our neighbours, our friends. It's not only the practical support they provide, often deeply personal and sensitive care interventions that are done whilst helping to retain the dignity of our residents, but it's also the personal touch that carers bring. Because sometimes a visit from a carer will be the only conversation that an elderly resident has that day. And it's the little things that can really help make that care special. A cup of tea with just enough milk, adjusting the little things around the house to make movement easier, that can make such a difference to the independence of our residents and help them stay in their homes with their belongings and in familiar and safe surroundings. For too long, across the country, carers have not been receiving the recognition and support that they deserve. We know being a carer can be exhausting, not just physically, but also emotionally, as they often have to bear witness to some of the most challenging times in the lives of the people they're caring for. We know that with an ageing population, our carers will be playing an even more important role in our society in the years to come. And it is an enormous shame that particularly after the impact of the pandemic, I would politely argue the government hasn't done what it needs to do to invest in our care system and has left local authorities trying to do what they can in challenging economic times. I'm really pleased today that we're able to sign up to the Charter. The idea of it's very simple. Clear milestones that show that with respect and strengthened systems and the right resources, our amazing care workers will be able to do even more to help our elderly and vulnerable residents. Many of our residents are dependent on carers. They're a lifeline, helping them to maintain their dignity and independence, as I've said, and therefore it's only right that we should in turn take the steps to safeguard and protect them, ensuring they're treated with the same respect they show to some of our most vulnerable residents. By committing to a proper wage and to more secure employment conditions, I hope we'll encourage skilled carers to continue in the sector and encouraging future generations to consider caring as a viable career as well as a vocation. And I'm delighted that we've been able to build on the successful partnership we have with Unison here in Westminster on many issues in marking this occasion today. Today is part of our ongoing commitment to building a fairer Westminster, because we know that any community is only as good as the people who help build it. Our carers are the mortar that help keep our communities together. So I'm delighted that Westminster will be signing the Ethical Care Charter. And I'm delighted that Christina is joining us here today on behalf of Unison, and I'd like to invite her to say a few words.
Hello, thank you so much, Adam. I am delighted to be here. This is very much central to what I do in Unison as the General Secretary of. We have 1.3 million members, and a large number of them are care workers. And we put on a lot of members during the pandemic because people were so worried. Care workers in particular were so worried about what was happening to them. And for the first month, I think, after we went into lockdown, I spent just about every day on phones and on Teams calls to the Department of Health, to the Health and Safety Executive, to government agencies, just basically fighting all the time to say, you need to protect these people because, you know, they're so vulnerable at this time. And sadly that has come to be true when you look at the figures about how many care workers actually died during the pandemic. So this is really important to us as a union, but more than that, it's really important to us as a society that we start to value care, as you said, Adam, about the impact it has on communities. And for too long, it feels like we treat care as something, or the society treats care as something that's a drain on the economy, rather than seeing it as something that boosts the economy. Because without a functioning care service, you wouldn't have a functioning NHS. Without a functioning care service, you wouldn't have people in employment doing valuable jobs because they'd be at home looking after their relatives or their loved ones because there was no care provided for them. Care is essential to our society, and it's essential to growing the economy. And care workers are hugely important, and again, for too long they've been seen as a care worker is a care worker is a care worker. There is no variation in the level of skills. Well, actually, that is so untrue. And care workers will do a huge range of have a huge range of responsibilities and need a huge range of skills to do the job, depending on the people they're looking after and what the issues are that they're having to deal with. And that needs to be recognised as well. So pushing for a recognition, support and funding for care is a central part of Unison's campaigning work in this area, and I'm absolutely delighted to be here. I think Westminster is such an iconic council, the name, where you are, and also there is this image, isn't there, that Westminster is somehow a really privileged area to live. And of course it's a fantastic area, but I know you have huge challenges here. I know you have boroughs that have got huge, wards with huge areas of deprivation. So you have a very mixed economy in Westminster, and it's not the image that people think of, you know, the Palace and the Houses of Commons, etc. But actually it's about looking after the people who live here. And so having this, being able to sign this with this council, with your council, is really important and really significant for us. And I hope you don't mind, but we will be telling everybody about this. And it does send out a really strong message about how important you take the work of the work of care workers, and how important you feel it is to support your more vulnerable and service users who need additional support. It is about elderly care workers, but also, as we know, care covers much more than that as well. And without care workers, I think we would all be a much poorer society. We would all really feel it. And requiring care is something that can happen to anybody at any time, because nobody knows what the future will bring. And therefore, investing now in our care workers, treating them fairly, treating them well, all of that not only helps people stay in care work and see it as a valuable career, but obviously has a huge impact on the people that they provide services for. And anything that we can do, anything that care workers can do, the whole aim is to make the services better and those who depend on those services have a better life. So this is really important to us. I'm so grateful to the Council and incredibly grateful to our amazing branch here who've done such a brilliant job, and absolutely delighted to be here to do this. So thank you.
I'm Nafsika, and I'm a Cabinet Member for Adult Social Care, Public Health and the Voluntary Sector. And I know that I've been Cabinet Member for pretty much exactly 1 year, because this time last year I was running around trying to get elected. Our manifesto was a fair Westminster, and this is the strategy we've launched. And for that to mean something, we must make sure that our own house is in order. And part of that is making sure that our carers get fair pay and fair working conditions. Our care workers, as other people have said, care for our most vulnerable people. And in terms of adult social care, these are the people on whom everything else rests upon, making sure that care workers are able to do their job and are remunerated fairly. Also, a lot of people who work in care work are women. The vast majority are women. Many are from global majority groups. So tackling low pay for carers means tackling structural sexism and structural racism. And of course, tackling this also means improving care for our residents, because better paid care workers, it means reducing staff turnover, it means filling vacancies, and it's better for everyone. Of course, this is the start of a journey, and we need to continue looking at pay, at conditions, at career progression for carers. Before signing the Charter, we wanted to review our compliance, so we established a review group which included representatives from social care, commissioning and trade unions, and that has helped us identify more areas for development. Signing the Ethical Care Charter shows our commitment as a council and commissioners, but it isn't the end of the process. While being in a position to sign the Charter is a real achievement, the efforts already made have to continue, and we must ensure that we meet the standards set out by the Charter. And we will continue to monitor compliance with the Charter and develop improvements to commissioning and contract management to ensure the dignity, safety and quality of care provided to our residents. It is a point of great pride to join the over 50 councils who have signed the Ethical Charter. So now I'd like to invite Councillor Hugg, Bernie Flaherty and Christine to the front to sign the Charter.
Events like this, where we have councils signing the Ethical Care Charter, when I know branches like yours, Neil, Westminster branch of Unison, have put an amazing amount of work in to get the council to sign these things. That sends a really strong message out to other councils about how important it is that we look after not just the residents who rely on care services, but critically the staff who provide them. And our Ethical Care Charter does that. It pushes councils in the right direction of saying we want to look after the people who provide care. It's a massive issue for us as a union. We're the main union for care workers, and it's something that's central to our policies going forward. The big thing for us has to be making sure that we get local government funding right, and that means we need a government in place that actually is committed to ensuring that there is enough funding in local authorities. So my big plea is, let's work together to make sure we get a government in Westminster that will properly fund local authorities and means that local services can be provided where and when people need them. Because at the moment, councils are being starved of funding.